Welcome to room 1116 at the Aman, New York, located in the Midtown East neighborhood of Manhattan at the corner of 5th Avenue and 57th Street in the historic Crown Building. First off, the interior design of these rooms, and the entire property, is what I would want my house to look like. And I'm almost sorry that I filmed this room tour during the day, because the thing that Aman does best is the lighting. Something that so many hotels manage to get wrong. The room only looks more amazing at night and more dramatic still with the gas fireplace blazing away. It features an absolutely immense oversized king bed, a chair and table in the corner for reading, the aforementioned fireplace, a lounger and eating area, a high-quality Samsung TV that can be lowered into the credenza, and a desk. The washi mural is a beautifully understated focal piece and lit perfectly to show off its texture. The Balinese-style panels separating the bathroom are lit from within, demonstrating the Aman's intensive attention to detailed lighting. The panels behind the bed look like a cross between a tatami mat and a shoji screen, adding a lot of character and elegance behind the headboard. The bed itself was incredibly comfortable, being firm but not overly so, and gave us both a great night's sleep. There were 4 pillows provided, but all of the super soft floppy type. I slept with one of mine folded in half, whereas Amanda opted to use one of the throw pillows to augment her pile. I'm actually surprised that they don't have a pillow menu. It seems like the type of hotel that would. The headboard is fitted with 2 pop-out reading lights, one of which didn't work. But back on the other side of the bed, Amanda demonstrates what it should look like. In any case, those are an excellent addition to the lighting package and very elegant in their design. The gas fireplace was already lit when we first entered the room and adds quite a lot to the ambiance, though that's less obvious on camera when in broad daylight. This room promises views of 5th Avenue, which, to be fair, it does provide, but on the 11th floor, I think it's one of those things that sounds wistfully impressive on paper, while in reality it's reminiscent of the views from, well, most hotels in Manhattan. I should note that the Aman bills this room as feeling a world away from the bustle below. The bustle really isn't all that far below, and it's not like you don't hear horns and sirens constantly. That's part and parcel with any major urban area, of course, and in fairness the soundproofing is quite good, and the hotel does feel like an oasis away from the heavy foot flow of tourists on this part of 5th. I just think the website oversells things a bit. Upon check-in, we found bottles of water, petit fours, and 3 apples waiting for us. I wonder how many people eat the apples and how often they're replaced, and handled. But they do rotate, so that's a bonus. Pretty much everything in the room is controllable via the bedside tablet, which is an iPad and a gussied-up case for hospitality use. The sheer and blackout curtains can be separately raised and lowered, and this is one of the most responsive and well-laid-out room automation systems I've seen. The tablet also has the full in-room dining menu and the capability to place an order without calling anyone. Prices are high, but not as high as some other hotels in this class. Information about the spa and available treatments can also be accessed, but unfortunately the prices aren't listed anywhere and bookings must be made by phone. Just in case the tablet isn't working or isn't immediately at hand, many of the controls are duplicated with actual buttons behind the bed. That's also where you'll find not 1 but 4 USB Type-A sockets for charging. Though weirdly that's only on one side of the bed, the other has only standard line voltage receptacles, which this side lacks. The TV can be raised and lowered using the tablet or the buttons, and the room looks even more elegant without the TV blocking the mural. The hideaway mechanism is a nice touch, and in general I find Aman's attention to detail unparalleled. They even went so far as to have their logo machined or laser cut into the steel frame that supports the TV. We didn't use the TV much, but I'll note that the HDMI ports were moderately accessible, though all in use, so I was able to disconnect something else to connect my Roku. Internet service was fantastic. It was complimentary and not locked behind a captive portal. Simply connecting to the Wi-Fi was enough to gain access, and it topped out at more than 120 megabits, which is quite impressive for most any hotel. Just about every light or set of lights are controllable. I find many hotel rooms seem to be disappointingly poorly lit, but this room can be extremely bright if needed. At night everything can be dimmed or turned off, and they thoughtfully included underbed nightlights, which I love. They also don't skimp on the phones. There is one on each nightstand, as well as one in the water closet and another on the desk. The desk features a cubby with USB ports and standard receptacles, as well as a stylish lamp that's integrated into the desk, as well as lighting automation. Again, as far as attention to detail goes, in the stationery box next to the TV are 2 power adapters for international travelers. Those are easy to forget, and it's extremely thoughtful to provide them right off the bat. Next, let's visit perhaps my favorite room in hotels to review, the bathroom. Though bathroom is a bit of a misnomer in this case. It's separated from the bed area by movable panels in the Balinese style. Panels that are absolutely stunning to look at with integrated, dimmable, centrally controlled LED lighting buried within. I like the movable panel idea as it does make the room feel more open. And from a privacy standpoint, the WC and shower are each in their own proper rooms, which we'll see shortly. The panels have rubberized seals between them to block out some noise and humidity, and are individually adjustable. The bathroom is big, with 2 sinks, a properly large soaking tub, and a makeup dressing table. Next to the tub is a small table with, well, I didn't open it on camera, but the satchel in this pot wasn't bath salt as I first thought. It contains rose petals. Aman branded body wash, shampoo, and conditioner are provided in larger than average bottles. The tub itself is quite dramatically lit. The sinks feature a waterfall-style faucet. Next to it is what I assume to be a toothbrush cup, as well as a drinking cup and bottle of water. On the other side is red flower bar soap, as well as a couple of branches that appeared to be real. In the corner is a very bright makeup mirror, as well as a robe and bath towel. A second robe hangs in the closet, which we'll see later. Those are, of course, situated in prime position to access when getting out of the shower chamber. This is a properly huge shower, being larger than the entire bathrooms of some hotels. While the shower is incredibly well put together from an interior design and construction standpoint, I found it odd that it only has 2 shower heads of questionable usefulness. One immense rainfall unit above, which pours out buckets of water, and a small handheld / wall-mounted piece which contrarily puts out a very small amount of water in a narrow stream. While I enjoyed the rainfall feature, Amanda felt that she was being drowned under the torrent. And in either case, it's not the most practical way to wash oneself. If the handheld one were less anemic, it would be a fine alternative as it's wall-mounted and adjustable. Next to the shower is the water closet, privy, whatever you want to call it, the toilet room. And oh boy, I have so much to say about this toilet that I'm going to make a separate review of just that. It's one of the finest toilets that Toto offers, the Neorest EW. And it has just about every bell and whistle that you can ask for, including, of course, bidet functions with drying, a heated seat, and automatic lid. I'd say it was more active than me on this trip, as it burred and whizzed away cleaning and maintaining itself, even when I was already back in bed. I won't get into it too much here, but despite being top of the line, it wasn't, how to put this, suitable for the arrangement of my lower anatomy. See how there's a tiny bowl in the middle, and then this raised shelf-like area around it? Yeah, most toilets don't have a raised shelf for a reason. Oh, it won't affect most women, I suppose, but that shelf goes all the way around the front. Get my drift? If not, subscribe to my channel for the upcoming review. Weirdly, it's genuinely a reason to consider not staying at Aman New York. Anyways, one thing about this room that again demonstrates Aman's attention to detail is that this is the best teepee I've ever seen in a hotel room. I'm pretty sure it's Cottonelle Ultra Comfort, which is real premium stuff. An extra roll is stored in this bag that's of needlessly high quality. Though, now that I think about it, I hope they wash that cloth bag between guests. Just returning to that makeup table for a second, I didn't realize at first that it opened up, but Amanda did. It's got an illuminated mirror and some storage. There are also 2 outlets integrated into the front of it for any of your electrical ablutions. Next to the makeup table is a laundry basket, which contains this price list, which you can pause on if you're curious. Under the sinks, there's a whole trove of bath amenities, including fancy toothpastes, mouthwash, and eco-friendly wooden toothbrushes. One side note about the sinks, they look beautiful, but they're impractical. A lot of water splashes out straight onto the front of your pants and shirt. Not ideal if you're about to leave the room for dinner or something. It wasn't just this one sink. 4 sinks out of the 2 rooms we stayed in had this feature. Back in the bedroom, I wanted to point out this piece of furniture that isn't just decorative and actually has a decent amount of storage within. And while we're over here, look at this incredibly dense and thick tome showcasing all of Aman's properties. Yeah, it's basically in-room advertising, but it's also quite well made and was interesting to look through. There's also this book about the works of the creator of the original mural on which the one in the room is based. The color palette of the mural fits perfectly with the aesthetic of the room, well, or maybe vice versa by design. As beautiful as the room is, there's something that bothered me about it. Immediately upon being escorted into the room by the person from the front desk and the butler and butler's assistant, I thought there'd been a mistake. This room is sold as a premier suite, 5th Avenue, and the word 1 bedroom is even used in the description. Sure, for legal purposes, it does indeed have 1 bedroom. I mean, what hotel room doesn't? However, that bedroom is also the living room. It can even be used as a library, dressing room, yoga studio, office, dog kennel, but in the end, it's just 1 room plus a bathroom. Not a suite in my estimation. A lot of hotels do make liberal use of the word suite, but in this case it was so misleading that I thought they put us in the wrong room class, especially as the size of this room is listed at 850 square feet, 79 square meters, which should be more than enough space for extra rooms. Likewise, the price would likely command a proper suite at most any other hotel. On this occasion, we stayed for 1 night at an eye-watering rate of $2,650. This was a holiday weekend in July, but about a month later we stayed at the Aman again and rates were a bit lower. I was going to split up that visit into a second room review video, but that didn't happen for reasons I'll elaborate upon later. One of the reasons I made this YouTube channel is because sometimes hotel websites can be extremely stingy with room photos and descriptions. Indeed, Aman shows a grand total of 4 pictures on their site, which all certainly could be pictures of a suite equally as not. A single wide photo showing the room from the windows all the way through to the door, or vice versa, would have told the whole story. Now, I'm the fool, of course, because I hadn't noticed that Aman does have a link to the floor plan, and the floor plan clearly shows the arrangement. What's been nagging me since our stay is the size of the room. I wish I could go back and measure it because it didn't feel like 850 square feet. This is going to be very inexact, but as best I can figure, that was a Wyoming King mattress, which is 7 feet square. It has a bed frame around it, so figure about 7.5 feet for the whole bed. I don't know, this diagram might not be to scale, or I may be using the wrong dimensions for the bed, but it is bugging me. 600-ish square feet seems more realistic, having set foot in the room myself. Anyway, let's get back on track. Next to the mural, the minibar at the Aman is well integrated into the design. I wouldn't even call it a minibar, but more of a bar area. In the upper cabinet are the hard liquors, red wines, and snacks. The liquors are all top shelf, or at least mid-top shelf. While the 375 ml and half-liter liquor offerings are a classier touch than mini bottles, it does mean you need to commit to one type of drink, or open a number of them at anywhere from $95 to $135 a pop. Next to the bottles is a selection of glassware, all of which was high quality and impeccably clean. A cocktail tray and small ice bucket are present, however actually obtaining ice proved to be an issue, but more on that later. In the pull-out mini fridge are of course all the chilled bottles. This includes champagne and rosé, as well as a good quality tonic water and fruit juices, some Stella Artois, and Cokes. One thing I like about the Aman, even as compared to similarly priced hotels, is that everything non-alcoholic in the minibar is complimentary. That's water, soda, snacks. That's a fantastic touch. And the Aman does not mess around when it comes to complimentary bottled water. They hide bottles of sparkling and still Saratoga water everywhere, which is most appreciated. This cabinet also contains placemats for in-room dining. I didn't find this drawer until later, but above the fridge is various cutlery, very elegant drink stirrers, a bottle opener, plates, and coasters. Unlike some other hotels of this caliber, Aman does offer in-room coffee facilities. There's an espresso machine accompanied by yet more bottled water. The tap water in Manhattan is perfectly safe to drink, by the way, as well as a very snazzy fellow electric kettle, which I used a few times and it heated up very quickly. Below that are a variety of cups, newbie, teas, coffee pods, sugars, and Splenda. Under each coffee pod is a label identifying it. If you're not accustomed to Nespresso pods, they can be pretty ambiguous, so again, great attention to detail by not only labeling them, but hiding the labels. I didn't get a shot of it, but the doors on both sides of the bar can be pushed back into the cabinetry to open up the whole area. To the right of the bar are the closets, which are topped by this dramatically lit artifact. Umbrellas are provided, as well as the best hangers I've ever seen in a hotel. The shoehorns are also impressively proportioned, and the drawers are lined with leather panels. In this closet, you only see the one bathrobe because the other is the one that was hanging in the bathroom next to the shower. Slippers are also provided, and both the slippers and robes are of a high quality. And there's yet more storage space above. The safe is large enough for a reasonably sized laptop, and there are yet more leather-lined drawers. Oh, and the safe also contains a jewelry tray. Above it is an emergency exit button, for reasons I can't fathom, but it may have to do with the doors to the foyer. This is probably one of the few videos that will feature a foyer tour, or even a notable room door. It has quality bespoke-looking hardware, and the door itself is no joke. It's extremely heavy and thick, making the room feel secure and helping to muffle sound from the hallway. There's extra storage down here, as well as a luggage rack. This cabinet would probably accommodate most sizes of bags, and I'd imagine this is where you're meant to put your empty suitcases after unpacking. Over here is the door to the connecting room, presumably to its foyer, and there are sliding doors to separate this room from the combined foyer. As such, the rooms can be configured to be accessible with a single hallway door while still having privacy from each other. By the way, unlike the three seashells, these heavy pottery discs are easy to explain. The butler referred to them as gongs, and hanging the brown one on the door indicates do not disturb, while the white one requests the room to be serviced. That concludes the tour of this room, but not the video. Not by a long shot. We stayed at the Aman once again about a month later in what looks like the same room to the untrained eye. I'll get to that experience, but let me conclude here with some thoughts based upon our first stay, so please stick around. Aman describes this hotel with words like harmonious design, East meets West, sanctuary, and minimalism. And this is a rare occasion where the marketing superlatives have a strong resemblance to reality. The staff ostensibly lives up to the 5-star billing of the property, and we found them to be universally solicitous and courteous, to the point of escorting us into elevators and pushing the buttons lest we sully our fingers. The layout of the hotel is a bit strange, probably because of the building's mixed use as commercial space, residences, and of course the hotel. There's a lobby at street level that contains the check-in desk, a security guard, 2 elevators, and little else. On check-in, we were escorted from there up to the main lobby area on the 14th floor by a member of the front desk staff. There we were given a tour of the restaurants, bar, and patio. Our room was on the 11th floor, below the lobby, so we took a different bank of elevators down. Upon arriving at our room, we were greeted by our butler and their assistant/trainee. The formalities of check-in were done in our room, the credit card and all that stuff, and our butler familiarized us with all the room's features while we sipped on chilled yuzu lemongrass, I think, drinks that they provided. It was a very thorough and impressive first touch. While the vast majority of the hotel was beyond reproach, we did have issues with the service that are particularly notable at this hotel class and price point. Amanda and I are pretty easygoing travelers in that we don't demand much. Well, we don't demand anything really, but we did ask for 2 things that the hotel was bafflingly unable to deliver: milk and ice. During the check-in process, our butler asked if we took milk with our coffee. Amanda said yes, and the butler said that she would bring milk, even asking specifically what sort of milk we wanted. That was great, but the milk never arrived. No biggie. In the morning, Amanda called guest services to ask for milk to be sent to our room. About a half hour later, she drank her coffee black, and no one ever arrived. At night, we also called guest services to request a bucket of ice. After about half an hour, it hadn't showed, so we called again, and someone did bring it up shortly afterwards. I had booked our stay via American Express Travel, and the Aman is part of their Fine Hotels and Resorts program, which grants certain benefits including a $100 food and beverage credit, as well as a guaranteed 4 p.m. checkout. It wasn't until I received a call around 11 a.m. asking if we needed assistance checking out, that's polite hotel speak for get out of our hotel, that I realized that they hadn't applied those benefits to our stay. These relatively minor lapses in service bear mentioning because during our second trip, Aman again couldn't manage to rustle up ice for us and got a lot of other things wrong to boot. And credit where it's due, when the ice did finally arrive, it was in great quantity and the cubes were very large, almost the size of whiskey stones. Despite those couple of lapses in service and the problematic toilet, we were still pretty enamored of the hotel and so decided to book a second time when we'd be in the city for a show. That stay was about a month later, and we booked a Premier Suite 56th Street. The room's features are much the same as the Premier Suite 5th Avenue from our first trip, however it features floor-to-ceiling windows and a slightly different layout. I was curious for the variety and thought that I'd make a second room review video. Overall, I was very positive and excited to show off more of the Aman to you. Inexplicably, we were put in a Premier Sanctuary Suite, which is just about identical to the Premier Suite 5th Avenue from last time, but a bit smaller. Only by a few square meters, but the difference was noticeable. And it's also smaller than the Premier 56th Street that we had actually booked. Man, these room names are a mouthful. The Sanctuary Suite seems to be priced higher than the 56th Street room, so it is possible that a reservation was changed as an upgrade via the Amex Fine Hotels and Resorts benefits, which were applied on this stay. However, that was never communicated, and it would also be the first time I've ever actually received a complimentary room upgrade through that program. Plus, in my opinion, the room seemed like a downgrade. So, I don't know. While the room was largely fine, and pretty much identical to the first room in this video, we had some bizarre service-related issues. As before, the hotel was seemingly unable to deliver ice. On our first night, it took 3 phone calls over the course of an hour and a half just to get a bucket sent up. On the third phone call, it was vaguely explained that an internal miscommunication had occurred. Fair enough, mistakes happen. But on the second night, we again requested a bucket of ice. When it hadn't shown up after about 45 minutes, I took the smaller ice bucket that came with the room and went in search of an ice machine. There is none. But in my travels, I passed the front desk on the 14th floor and explained the situation. The gentleman working the desk assured me that ice would be brought to us in no more than 8 minutes. And 5 minutes later, we had our ice. I should also note that calling guest services always resulted in being put on hold for up to a few minutes, during which time some interesting chanting played. Unfortunately, I didn't get a recording of it, but it sounded kind of like this. And those phone calls got me thinking. We were introduced to our butler during the check-in process on both stays, but then we never heard from the butler again, and even more strangely, we were never given a way to contact her. In other hotels, I've seen a butler service speed dial button on the phones. The Aman only has the ambiguous guest services button, which doesn't appear to provide much in the way of service. Another issue was the climate control. It was a hot August afternoon when we checked in, and we had walked to the hotel. One of the first things I did was use the tablet to set the AC to a very low temperature. Once the sun went down, it got a little too cold in the room for us, so I raised the thermostat on the tablet up to 71 degrees. But the room only seemed to get colder. Eventually we went to bed and woke up freezing. The next day, we went to the front desk to tell them about the issue, and they promised to send someone right away to take a look at the problem. Oh, and while we were there, we also mentioned that we'd found an open bottle of whiskey in the minibar and wanted to make sure we weren't charged for it. They assured us that we wouldn't be, and yeah, I'll get back to that. Impressively, someone from maintenance did show up to our room just a few minutes later. He was a super nice guy and seemed genuinely interested in helping us out. He explained that the prior guests had demanded the room be as cold as possible, so the hotel had locked the thermostat to a setting of 60 degrees. The control on the tablet seemed to be working, but the thermostat on the wall was set 60 regardless of what the tablet did. He resolved everything pretty quickly and the tablet was in control once again. So about that bottle of whiskey, in addition to letting the front desk know about it, I had also told the person who came around to restock the minibar that it was open, but not by us. He also assured me that we wouldn't be charged. Of course, I saw that $125 had been applied to my credit card after we checked out. So in summary, the physical aspects of the property are stunning. I really wanted to give a glowing review of Aman New York because aesthetically and functionally, it's possibly my all-time favorite Manhattan hotel. It's simply a nice place to be, and for the most part, the hard product lives up to the hype. In contrast, the service is probably the most ineffective I've seen at any luxury hotel. They got just about everything wrong. We didn't ask for much, but what we did ask for was almost universally ignored the first or even second time around, and that was during all 3 nights of both our stays. Strangely, the staff do seem to be properly trained and eager to help. Like I said, they leapt to open doors and even press elevator buttons for us, and always greeted us by name. We didn't have a single negative interaction with anyone working on property. In fact, every individual staff member was friendly and welcoming. So the problem appears to be systemic and not due to any specific employee's poor performance. In fact, shout out to the doormen who were very nice and seemed like genuinely good guys. Which brings up a literal side note. The entrance to the Aman is on 57th Street. In what I believe to be an act of pomposity, the only address listed on their website is 730 Fifth Avenue. That's here, the address of the Crown Building, but the actual entrance is here. 57th Street isn't mentioned anywhere on the Getting to Aman New York page either. So if you're headed there, you'll need to turn on to 57th. And since I spoke of service, I should note that service at the restaurants was fine, and we had no problem during our 3 meals at Arva and one fantastic Omakase experience at Nama. But in the hotel portion of the hotel, let me just recap the issues. They didn't apply Amex benefits to our first stay. They were unable to organize a bucket of ice. They were unable to supply milk for coffee, even though they volunteered to. We were given the wrong room type on our second stay, or upgrade that wasn't communicated or desired. They were unable to organize a bucket of ice, again. We got a poor night's sleep due to purposefully locked out climate controls. They ignored our minibar issue and charged us anyway. And they were unable to organize a bucket of ice yet again. Now looking back at their website, I think Aman's opinion of their hotel mirrors my own. Just about every single paragraph discusses the tangible facilities, the fireplaces, the marble baths, the washi murals, the historic building. All of those are indeed their strengths. Yet I can't find a mention of their staff or service anywhere. Not even marketing fluff like our staff's attention to detail, or your every need will be met. Just the factual mention of butler service, which didn't appear to exist after check-in was complete anyhow. Based on our 2 stays, I can't recommend the Aman New York. For a hotel of this class at a price point comparable to or even exceeding actual suites at the Plaza, the Ritz-Carlton, the Mandarin Oriental, or just about any of New York's top hotels, the service just doesn't hold up. It is fixable though. There's nothing fundamentally wrong with the property. If they brought service up to a standard to match their high-end decor, delicious omakase, expansive spa, and overall comfort and serenity, I would recommend the Aman New York without question. A little bit of an update since I wrote the main part of this script. Shortly after our last stay, I was sent the usual email requesting feedback. Based on the service, the room up or downgrade, the climate control issue, the unusable toilet, and everything else mentioned, I gave them a pretty scathing rating and briefly typed out a description of some of the problems. Very soon afterward, I received an email from Aman New York's managing director addressing my concerns with his apologies and an offer for a complimentary 2-night stay in their grand suite. I took him up on his offer because, well, it would be foolish not to, and also I'd like to give the Aman a second try, well, a third try at this point. So please consider subscribing to my channel for my upcoming third take, on Aman New York, as well as other hotels and travel reviews in New York and elsewhere. I did want to mention the Omakase experience at Nama was truly excellent. We got lucky in that we were the only 2 people at the Hinoki wood counter, and so we had the room to ourselves for this approximately 2-hour meal. The staff in the restaurant were professional yet friendly, and the chef was personable and happy to share details about each course. The food was all genuinely excellent and of a very high freshness and quality. There was no sake or wine pairing on offer, but we opted for a moderately priced bottle of sake, which was served in our choice of handmade cups. The sake was kept chilled and our cups were refilled instantly by our ever-attentive server. The base cost for the meal was $500 per person, and the total for the two of us inclusive of the sake, tax, and tip was just under $1,800, or about $900 per person, making it the second most expensive omakase experience for me after Wakuda in Las Vegas, which I also recommend. Well, if you've come this far, really thank you for watching the whole video, and again, please consider subscribing. I'd really appreciate it, and at the very least, I'd really appreciate it if you throw me a like down at the bottom of the video. Thanks.